Jonathan Doe, General Editor of the Journal of Management Studies, here with you with another JMS reflection. Like a lot of academics who've been kicking around for a while, I'm often invited to give talks to doctoral students, to junior faculty and others about various aspects of the academic career. And a couple of years ago, I put together this short presentation, which I call the 5 Ps of a successful academic career. Now, these are very personal perspectives, and I would caution you not to generalize too much from them or assume that all academics would come up with the same set of insights. So hear me out, but also listen to others and think for yourself and make your own conclusions about what works best for you. But these are some things that I kind of wish I knew earlier in my career. I wish that I had considered. So the first overarching comment I would share with you is that academic careers go through many cycles, stages, and seasons. What that means is that don't get too concerned with what's happening in the here and now. Think about the long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Different models and approaches work for different people, and they may work for different people at different stages of their career. So sometimes we have certain priorities early in the career that change, that evolve, and we have a different set of priorities later in the career based on other professional considerations or personal considerations. So the 5, as I say, very personalized and biased Ps that I've come up with are passion, patience, perseverance or persistence, perspective, and phenomenon. So passion. I think it goes without saying that we should be passionate about what we do. And if we aren't, we should find something else to occupy our time. However, some of us enter this profession because of love of teaching, not research. And it's interesting how many of the decisions we make, many of the choices we elect, many of the particular feedback that we get is based on research. And so I think we should remind ourselves that for whatever reason, scholarly research has become the sine qua non of an academic career, but it diminishes the importance of teaching and our role as educators. And I think we should not forget that. So we can have passion about research, and that's important, but we should have passion about teaching and being educators and being part of the learned community as well. I'm going to return to that later on. Patience. I think for those who are unfamiliar with academic timetables, this can come as a bit of a shocker. So being part of the academic environment, especially the research environment, requires a great deal of patience. It is sometimes the case that it takes 4, 5, or more years to complete the PhD. It may take 2 or 3 years for a paper to be reviewed by a journal, often rejected. 6 years for a tenure decision. So these are long time horizons, which are especially, I think, frustrating in an environment where we are looking for instant gratification and short-term returns. But being patient is requisite. One strategy, and I think you'd hear this from many academics, is to have several projects underway at the same time, what we might call a portfolio approach. So you're initiating one while you're bringing one to maturity, while you may have put one on the shelf that you're going to bring back. And I think having this combination of projects at different stages of maturity can really help as you're waiting for that one paper to hit. And it also allows for some kind of feedback. You may not always get the feedback that you want, but it increases the frequency of feedback, so at least you feel like you're making progress. Don't forget there's a lot of other ways to get our ideas out in the community, both academic and professional. Things like commentaries and op-eds, tweets, other kinds of social media, social science research network, ResearchGate, many others. So while you are sitting back and waiting for the long review cycles of your academic research, think about getting some of those same ideas out for others to consume in a more digestible format and something that can be done much more quickly. Perseverance and persistence. Now, this is related to the patience, isn't it? Research projects and knowledge acquisition generally takes a lot of time. So some of these projects can string on for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And as I mentioned a moment ago, sometimes a paper can be put aside, what I call orphan papers, and then revived if one feels so strongly about it. But here's another little tidbit, if you will, and this is probably a little bit of a colloquialism for those in North America. Kenny Rogers had a song many years ago called The Gambler, and one line in it was "No one to hold him and no one to fold him." And I think sometimes we hang on to these projects too long when we've gotten consistent feedback from a number of journals and colleagues that it's just not going to happen, then maybe we need to put it aside for good and move on to something else. Another thing I think we need to do is not take ourselves too seriously. So, we're in a market of competition for ideas. And while our ideas may be important and they may be meaningful, let's not assume that they're the only good ideas in the world, and other people may in fact have similar ideas. So let's not be too obsessed with our ideas and hold on to them beyond their usable shelf life, if you will. Perspective. Now, we tend to tally things up a lot in academia, especially in business schools. How many A hits did we have? How many on this list or that list? And it is certainly important to have stature, reputation, and respect in your profession. But having a successful life is important as well. And so, as I started to say a moment ago, like what we're doing in the business schools is not a matter of life or death. So let's not take things too seriously, and let's have some fun along the way. Take a step back, laugh at ourselves, laugh at others. Don't take things too seriously. Phenomenon. So I have long argued, and I've written about the importance of phenomenon-based research, that our research should always have some connection. It should be tethered to the real world. It should be speaking to the grand challenges of the intersection of business and society in a global sense. And I think in some ways we've moved too far away from that. We need to get back to it. And so I always say, start with a real world problem. Start with something that is actually out there, that is challenging to businesses or governments or society more broadly. And I think that gets to my earlier comment about passion. I think these are the kinds of questions and challenges that we can be more passionate about, as opposed to those marginal little incremental changes where we're swapping out variables from the left-hand side to the right-hand side or vice versa. So start with a real world problem, then think about the theory and the method that can inform that phenomenon. So those were my initial 5 Ps of a successful academic career. And I should have apologized, by the way, to our marketing colleagues. I borrowed their little phraseology there. 3 additional Ps, one of which I alluded to earlier: pedagogy, practice, and programs. Pedagogy, I mentioned it. We're all teachers, scholars. We're not just scholars. And I think we can get a lot of rewards out of teaching. And sometimes those rewards are diminished in the competition for research and scholarship. Practice. Think about ways that what you do can not just inform practice, but that you can actually contribute to practice through serving on a board, consulting, or otherwise being engaged with organizations that you're studying. Programs. Some of us are attracted to institutional roles, administrative roles, where we try to put our mark on a particular program, department, or initiative. It's something that I've gravitated towards, especially in the global sense, and I enjoy that very much. Those are really other things that I didn't want to get into deeply here, but just to review my 5 Ps of a sustainable, successful, scholarly academic research program are passion, patience, perseverance, perspective, and phenomenon. And I think these elements are all to some degree part of the same whole, or at least mutually reinforcing. So again, one guy's view of the 5 Ps of a successful academic career. Definitely listen to others. Tune into other videos on this JMS Reflections channel. But for now, that's Jonathan Doe, General Editor of Journal of Management Studies. Take care.